Alright guys, welcome to my show. Thanks for tuning in. So it's Thursday today, so we're gonna do some defense. This is our starting position, and we're supposed to figure out how we're gonna play this position as black. So I'm gonna start the clock now. 20 minutes is our time limit. Alright, let's go. Black to play. How are we gonna look at this position? So I have to write down when you're solving your chess puzzle, and especially if it's not like one move checkmate or one move solution, you want to be able to write down your moves in a notebook, then so you can compare it afterwards if you got the correct answers with the book. All right. So this looks like an opening from Queen's Pawn opening, and looks like that black exchanged its d pawn with a c4. So there are no pawns here on d and c4. So what should black do here? And it seems like white's white's last move is bishop e4. I think white's bishop was here on d3. Then it checked the black king. Then after the black king, before the king was on g8, then it went to h8. Then white retreated its bishop e4. So I think that's what happened. Okay, let's see. Okay, so black's problem here is I want to move my knight out from b8 to here to d7, but the problem is my pawn on c6 is going to hang because there are like 3 pieces that are attacking the c6 and only 2 pieces that are defending it. So my piece might hang. So okay, gotta figure out how to complete the development of my pieces, especially the knight on b8, and also figure out let's see, trying to delete the color. Also figure out how to get my pawn lever on with c5, because I learned this lesson, pawn lever, from one of my favorite books titled Pump Up Your Rating, written by a Swedish grandmaster, Axel Smith, and he spoke about what is a pawn lever. Pawn lever is when you're creating, pushing a pawn and creating a tension between two pawns, and there's possible of exchanges, possible pawn exchanges. I mean, why do we need pawn levers? Because when you're starting a chess game, remember that white moves first. So, for example, white pushes its king pawn, right? He plays e4. Right from there, he already has the space advantage. And usually in chess, you want to get as much space as you can. And because white has the first move, the problem with black is, okay, what am I gonna do? Am I going to, like, for example, in this position, let's say here. So in this position, let's say white plays e4. And if you're black, what are you gonna do? After white plays e4, now he's controlling this f5 square and a d5 square, and he opened its diagonal, its bishop's diagonal. So if you're black, what are you gonna do? Are you going to occupy the center with the king pawn too? So you're controlling these four squares and you open the diagonal, or there are many openings like Sicilian where black plays c5, and you're telling white, okay, I don't want to copy you. Instead, I'm going to open with my wing in order to uh, get more space on the queen side. So this is what you call an imbalance. It's the difference between white's and black's position. So usually you create pawn levers like here on this position c5 is because you lack space. If you look at this position, white has more space, squares where he can move his pieces around. B2, A2, B2, A2, B1. And if you compared black's pieces on the queen side, it's cramped. So that's why you need pawn lever in order to gain more space, and you need more space so you can put your pieces. You can put your pieces in good squares. I mean that's um, how I understand what is the importance of space and creating. And in order to gain more space, you want to create pawn levers or pawn breaks. All right. So here, I think that's black's one of black's main plan is to be able to play c5 to create a pawn lever and get more space. I really want to play c5, but the problem is if I play c5 right away, I think white's just gonna take my bishop, then queen takes, then pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, then I'm just gonna lose a pawn. So, another problem is okay. Another problem for white is for black is I cannot move my pawn and try to kick the knight out or the bishop out, because this knight on e5 is gonna go on g6. It's gonna fork the king on h8 and the rook on f8. It's a double attack, so it's not a good idea. So we'll see. What can we do? Maybe I can play bishop to d6. Oh. Oh yeah, I can play bishop d6. Because I was worried about some sacrifice here. But with bishop to d6, my bishop is defending the queen at the same time attacking this knight. So I think that's possible. Because I was worried about bishop d6, then knight takes c6, then bishop takes c6, then after b5, then I just take the pawn, right? Because my queen is defended by my bishop, so bishop d6 looks good. Yeah, maybe if I play bishop d6 here, maybe white has this move f4, just protecting this knight, strengthening it, and still I cannot play f6 because or push my f pawn because of knight g6. But is that the best that I can do in this position? I'm trying to create a pawn lever or trying to exchange this knight on e5 because it's very strong. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Maybe I can play a5 instead. But if I play a5, then white just must push. White white might just push the pawn b5 because my pawn on c6 is pinned. Can I take? If I take, then queen takes queen. So that's a problem. Okay, a5, then b5, then c5. Maybe that's an idea. Then if white pushes, then I push. What am I gonna get if I do that? Okay, maybe I can just push the pawn on c5 because the idea is to sacrifice temporarily after c5. Let's say bishop takes bishop, queen takes bishop, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. Then maybe queen d5, attacking this knight on e5 and the pawn on c5. Then knight d3. Oh, I think also this pawn on g2 is hanging. So I think this could work after c5. Yeah. After c5. Yeah. So c5, bishop takes, queen takes. Or after c5, then pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. What's gonna happen after that? Because if I take the bishop, then if I take the bishop, then just queen takes. Then my rook's gonna hang. So I don't wanna do that. Or do I have to? Or maybe I can play bishop d5. If I play bishop d5, then he just might take. Bishop takes d5, b takes d5. Then the pawn on c5 is hanging. I cannot take on oh man. He cannot take with a d pawn. Oh jeez. Because then the knight is gonna hang. So this is a problem. So now I'm figuring out. So c5, d takes c5, b takes c5. Okay, so he can still take. The idea is if I take, oh, I can take the knight. Then bishop takes b7. Then queen takes a1. Then bishop takes here. Then bishop takes. Maybe I can play knight d7, I guess. Bishop c6. Let's say then knight takes c5. Castle. Interesting. Knight d7, trying to take the bishop here on a8. Then let's say bishop c6. Then knight takes c5, castle. I know, I calculated a lot of moves. Okay. We have to make a decision soon. Maybe it could work. I would play c5 here. Just try to make that pawn lever and get more space on the queen side. Okay. I have to write down. I have to write down my answer. Okay, so time's up. So what happens after c5, bc5, dc5? dc5, then queen e5, bishop b7, queen a1, rook, bishop a8, bishop takes rook, queen a1, then I don't know, after bishop takes rook, then knight c5, trying to take the bishop, then now the bishop has to move. Let's say bishop to c6. Bishop c6 kind of useless, but bishop e4, or maybe bishop f3. Then now knight takes c5. Okay, knight c5. I think black will be able to equalize after c5. Let's see. Let's see what is the correct answer. Alright, black to move assessment. White has gained a slight advantage from the opening. By accurate play, black equalizes the position without prejudice by giving up the bishop versus active knight, and by exploiting tactical possibilities launches a counterattack versus advanced white pawns on the queen side. By the way, this is a game between Anthony Miles, I think from England, if I'm not mistaken, and Laos Portish from Hungary, Hungarian Grandmaster. It happened in the year 1983. So black to move. Partish played bishop d6. No, I didn't even look at that. Okay, I'm gonna turn on the Stockfish. Let's see what Stockfish 12 chess engine says. I think I would play c5 here. Hopefully my computer wouldn't slow down. c5. Okay, let's see. Oh, Stockfish says knight d7 is black's best move. That's interesting. Knight d7. Why not knight takes c6? Then rook fc8, b5, then a6. Oh, he has that break. I see. Okay, so that's an idea. I didn't even consider that idea. After rook fc8, b5, trying to. Yeah, my rook. Okay, there you go. Rook here. Then if b5, then a6. Oh no, okay. Rook fc8, b5, then knight e4, bishop f3, then a6. Okay, trying to turn off the computer. So I think my computer can handle the streaming and Stockfish at the same time, turning on the chess engine. Alright, yeah. Alright. So the idea is what, a6? Removing the defense. The defense for the c6. So because if goes here, pawn takes pawn, then just black just loses a piece. So let's say, and if white protects the pawn here, just pawn takes pawn, and the pawn cannot retake because if pawn takes, then rook takes rook. The pawn on a4 is pinned. It's paralyzed. This pawn on a4 is paralyzed. So that's the idea. a6 right away. Okay, so just okay. So I recorded c5 is incorrect. So the correct answer is bishop d6. Then bishop b2, defending this knight. Okay. Bishop takes, d takes, knight d7, rook here, a5. Quote, by taking the e5 pawn, black would have imparted truly armor-piercing strength to the b2 bishop. Yeah, if what he's talking about is if black takes here, then this bishop on b2 becomes very powerful. It's gonna slice the board in half. So instead of taking the pawn, black just tried to created the pawn lever on the queen side, trying to create a pass pawn because he has 3 pawns versus white's 2 pawns. Boom, boom. Okay. So a5. Queen c3, defending this pawn, and e5, and the pawn here. e4. So I just takes. Okay, now c5. Okay, code black's defensive actions are completed, and after bishop takes b7, version below, by aiming without justification for a win, white oversteps the mark. So white played bishop b1, and what happens after bishop takes b7? Queen takes b7, castle rook a4, threatening to take the pawn. So the game would have been level, equal, end code. But white played bishop to b1. So what is the idea here? I think white's idea is to go queen c2 followed by quick win, checkmate with the g8. So bishop b1. Maybe I can play rook fc8. Queen c6. Wow. It's kind of weird that black put his queen here, even though there's no checkmate there. I mean, because white hasn't castled. What is the idea here? So the what is it? Queen ct? Queen c2. So okay, but white played f3, preventing black from taking that pawn on g2. Queen b5. Okay, so now black's attacking this pawn on b4, and also preventing the black king from castling because it has to go to f1 square first. King f2. If b takes c5, then knight takes c5. Okay, with the threat of knight a4. It's a double attack, attacking the queen and the bishop. Alright. So queen b5, king f2, rook fc8. Yeah. So queen takes b4 is threatened. Because before, if black plays here, takes, then here. Attacking the knight on d7 and bishop. Then if knight here, then here. Yeah, maybe. Then rook here. I don't know. If I go here, then rook takes b7. So, but if we go here, then bishop takes here. The idea is takes, then takes. Then white is just winning with an extra piece. That's deep. Okay. Alright. So instead of taking the pawn right away, black decided, okay, I control the c file first. No, not there. King f2, then here. Control it. So when the c file opens, then the white queen cannot go to c7. Rook hd1, c takes b4. Taking that. C takes. Okay, rook takes c1, takes bishop c6. Because here, white is threatening to take the knight. So bishop protects. Bishop b2. Maybe I can play queen c5. Knight c5. Yeah. It's kind of bad for white's dark squared bishop because it doesn't have good long diagonal. Queen d6. Oh, nice. King g8. King g8. Why king g8? Rook d4. b3. So king g8, code freeing the rook from having to control the f8. Okay, because maybe black is planning to move its rook, and if it moves, it stops controlling this a file. And if the king is still there, for example here, like for example, let's just say here, rook a6, let's say rook a6, then queen f8 is a background checkmate. So with king g8, king g8 is just at least it prevents the white queen from going to f8 later. Rook d4, b3, rook f4. What are you trying to do? Maybe I can play. Maybe black is threatening to go there. Then take the f7 pawn. Oh, bishop e8, prophylaxis. Quote, White's activity has essentially been extinguished, whereas he is a pawn down. And what a pawn. And this pawn on b3 is a monster. Rook g4, rook a2, here we go. So if takes, then takes, threatening to take the bishop. And for example, goes there. Maybe I can go to b1. Right? Just winning. Can queen d8, queen takes e8, king h7, queen takes f7, queen b2. Oh, even queen takes e5. So maybe here, then I take, then check. Say here, then takes. Oh, I can check first. Because the idea is if it goes there, back rank, then back checkmate, right? Checkmate, I got you. Can I go there? Can I escape? Okay, but if for example king goes there, then I have a check. I have a check at the same time defending the pawn on g7 because white was threatening to take this pawn. So this is pretty good. Then I just queen. Okay, maybe f4. Maybe I can queen takes here. Queen e1. Maybe knight e4. I have a tactics here. The queen takes here, then check here. I don't know, something like that. Maybe black still winning. Maybe it should be. All right. Okay, so instead of taking the rook on a2, Anthony Miles played queen d4, defending the bishop on b2. Then knight a4 now. Oh, okay, rook a4, queen d8, rook g4. Because here, I mean, the white queen is not threatening anything because the bishop is protected by black queen on b5. So rook takes g4. Boom, boom, boom. Exchange time. Boom, boom. The remainder was a matter of technique and move 60 white resigned. So I'm just gonna fast forward this one so we can see how the game finished. Boom, 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 boom. Push. Maybe I can go here. So g2. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Push, push, boom, and Laos Partitious. Wow. It's an excellent endgame player. Takes, boom. If you take, then queen. Right. Queen. Get a queen. So you cannot take the bishop. Then maybe bishop c4. Okay. Defending that one. So white cannot take the pawn on b3. And okay, now. So the idea is to play here. And after the exchanges. Oh, okay. So it didn't even go there. Just take this one. Chum, chum, chum. Just take all this pawn. Chum, chum, chum. And get a queen. Alright. So hope you learned something. It's a break. It's still a defense. I think knight d7 was the correct move in this position. And both the author and I didn't see the possibility of knight d7 is the correct move according to Stockfish 12. So I hope you guys learned something today, and don't forget to subscribe to my Twitch channel, YouTube, and share it to your friends. All right, bye.